passionate about the internship process just because of how it shaped me as a coach. So 2 years at Penn State and then basically a few months at Vanderbilt. And along the way, I've been able to be the internship coordinator at Robert Morris, at Charlotte, and now DePaul. And all those different ways, it's really taught me that like I have to have the same sort of process that was built out for me. So what I've created over the years is basically a series of weekly topics where I assign readings and then I assign practical assignments that are associated with that. I think it's important that like I force my interns to think for themselves, because ultimately when they get a role where I'm not going to be there with them, they have to go in on day one. You know, I'm not sitting there on their shoulder telling them what to do, but now they have their thinking cap on and they have to figure out what program they're going to design, how they're going to coach their athletes, how they're going to run the room. And I feel that if you don't give your internships the interns the ability to do that during an internship, they're never really going to be truly prepared. So a lot of the assignments I create are associated with that. We talked about networking. I think that's a huge aspect as well. In the past, prior to COVID, I've had interns attend conferences with me where they can go and basically meet members of my network. We've connected on phone calls. More recently, during COVID, we've done a lot of virtual staff connections via Zoom, where we basically would have like staff roundtables. And I think that's helped out in terms of building a network. What our current plans are and what our future plans are is I joined something this summer called the Coaches Circuit that my friend Nick Higgins from the University of Washington has created. If there's any coaches out there listening who are interested, this is basically a virtual internship that's running over the course of the summer. And what we're doing is we're basically doing 3 Zooms a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday is like an initial lecture on a topic. And then we're assigning interns assignments based on that topic. And then Wednesday and Friday during the week are either a guest speaker who's speaking on the topic from the professional or private sector level or collegiate. And then Friday, we're kind of bringing it together in a roundtable. I love that idea. And moving forward, I think that's something I want to continue to do with my interns, is because now I'm not just telling them the DePaul way or what Ryan Nosak thinks, but I'm able to connect them to other strength and conditioning coaches in the industry who have different thoughts than I do or have different examples with programming. And I think that allows the intern to really take all that information in and start figuring out what they want to use themselves.
No, I think that sounds like a bunch of gold. Something that I know a lot of coaches wish that they were kind of a part of. And I think that type of the things that you guys are doing with the coaches circuit is going to be something that I know could be beneficial to just your own individual program. Like you said, a lot of coaches try to create miniature versions of themselves, or they have this group think. And I think that it's important at the time, just because you guys want to make sure that you're saying the same language and all that type of stuff where you're at. But at the same time, you should be developing interns or graduate assistants with the goal of they're going to become their own directors. So you want them to go off to new schools where they might not have the same resource or have better resources or have different types of athletes, have better athletes, whatever it is. You want to give them some foundational like understandings of what to do, but like exactly what you said, you want them to be who they are. So they want to take the information that you're giving them and kind of translate it to work best for them.
That was a great point. One thing I really stress with the interns, and this was something that was taught to me, is to simply be yourself. So I don't want people who are working for me who are trying to be like me or, trying to act like somebody that they're not. I want them to find their coaching voice and be comfortable with that. And then along the same way, when it comes to programming and designing the aspects of periodization, it's going to be different at every school based on the equipment that you have, the setup of the room, the type of athletes, the season. So, what I do at DePaul, somebody might not be able to replicate elsewhere.
No, I love it. That's the biggest separation between strength and conditioning and sport performance, because now you're looking at what you're doing as far as strength and conditioning goes, and you are pushing it towards making sure that the performance is increasing. Yes, do I want my football players to squat more? Sure. But is it making them less powerful? For my basketball guys, for some of my super elastic players, is heavy back squats really doing them any injustice? Like, is that helping them? Is that making them worse at what they're really special at? Being able to take those decisions that was a game changer for us again. And I think we probably had our best year of training, and it's not because we're great coaches. It's just because we were able to have and create tools to help us. We didn't pay for any. We didn't have any special software coming in and doing this for us. This was something that it was on a Google Doc, and our jump stuff, we splurged a little bit and spent $300 on some jump trackers, and that was it. Like, that's what, we're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars. So there's options out there for you. Again, a Google Doc is free. So find ways to help your athletes, and don't make excuses because you don't have the money.
I love that. The first time I really heard about athlete monitoring was at a seminar back in like 2014 or 2015. And at the time I was at Robert Morris, and like we had basically zero monitoring equipment. And I remember like almost tuning off to an extent because of the equipment that they were lecturing on was just so out of my league, But as the conversation went on, they started talking about those things that I briefly mentioned before, that an athlete monitoring program doesn't necessarily have all these tools and these cool bells and whistles that exist. You can make it super simple. I think the goal is that you are just collecting data and actually using it.
Yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, if you're not using the data, then it's just information that is not useful. So if you're going to spend the time on collecting data, allow it to be a tool for you to make decisions. Don't just collect data so you can tell people I collect data.
I know a lot of very good individuals who work in strength and conditioning. What I mean by that is that they are incredible human beings. They are passionate, they are energetic, they are leaders, and they are excited about mentoring young athletes. And I think that's a sign of a good role model. Many strength and conditioning professionals that I know are also extremely intelligent. And I really respect that because I know that they spend a lot of their own hours and their own money in becoming better. And that's all to really learn to push their athletes to become better. I think along those same lines as well, there are things that tend to be negative. Like I think when you look at what the media says about us, they may not know that strength and conditioning coaches are very intelligent and have master's degrees and, do all this continuing education because of what's being touted on the media. Now, I think in the football realm, you have to be energetic and you have to be passionate to an extent, Like I'm not saying that what coaches are doing on game day or those types of things on social media are wrong or negative, but I think as an industry, we need to consider what that's doing to us. Because now we're having people say that strength and conditioning coaches are lunatics or that they aren't educated, that anybody can do it. And I don't think that's the case. From my experiences, I think this is a very difficult profession to excel in and to have longevity in it. And I think the reason why people do that well is because of the education that they put in, as well as the passion. Yeah. And be considered to look at as a professional. I think for us to get the true respect that we all deserve, all those things go into it. People always talk about perception being reality. And no matter what your views on that are, it just seems like how the media portrays us is that, the majority of times we're like crazy people, So it's just like disheartening from time to time when you meet somebody and they're like, oh, like, you're the type of person who rips your shirt off and just like runs around all day. And like, yeah, like that probably happens from time to time. No doubt about it. Like I get pumped up, we get fired up, and that's okay. But I just think if that's like your go-to all the time, then it definitely is going to take away from probably some of the positive messages or the educational messages that you're trying to send.
Yeah. And it's our own faults just because we are an extremely passionate group of people. But allow it to be passion. Don't allow it to be erotic.